Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our Roberto De Zerbi recreation series. It's going to be the summer transfer window episode. There's going to be a lot of transfers, a lot of discussion about who to keep, who to sell, who to buy. And then finally, we'll go into the new season, looking at our new fixtures and playing our first match. Maybe our second match as well. We might try and sneak in the first European game. I'm not too sure. It depends how long the video is going to end up being and all that kind of stuff. But we went through everything in the last episode about in terms of end of season review, looking at player stats, all that kind of stuff. So this, we're just going to jump straight into who we're going to try and sell. Do you know what? There isn't many players in the team that I think, yeah, we need them gone. They're not here for our next level. They're not ready for it. There isn't many players in that bracket at all. It's more about who can we sell for, let's just say, Facundo as an example. Could we sell Facundo for 30 million up front? And then could we sign 2 or 3 players totaling 45 million? Not all up front, though. And would that, by the aggregate, would that improve our team? So those are the types of decisions we're going to have to make, I think, on a few players. And because our transfer budget is 453 grand, that is all we've got to spend for our first campaign in Europe. Not great, not the best. Wage budget of 46 grand. I think that getting the transfer money is almost more important to get it in so we can convert it to wages as well. That's also going to be very, very important to do. So we're going to have to sell at least one big name player, I think, and that's going to likely be Facundo because I love Muslesia and I feel like that we can get away with him doing bits and pieces for us for another year or two. So there we are. The first player I'm going to sell is Varela because he's unhappy anyway. If we can get 3 million for him and I could use that to buy maybe 2 players, that'd be great. So he's going to be the first player to be gone. I'm going to offer up Facundo and see what we can get for him. Right, so I've just got to offer some players out. We'll see what offers we get back. So you'll join me in a few days. It feels like we've got nothing else really to cover this, to be honest. I think you'll just join me in a few days' time when we see what offers we get first. The other thing I'm going to do is try and get some better staff. So in terms of staff, we're going to get some more scouts. We're going to get some new youth coaches. We're going to get some coaches. We're going to get everybody, really, and also some analysts as well. Maybe a better set-piece coach going into next season, because the guy that we had before was doing pretty good. This guy didn't do as well, I don't think, but it's really close anyway. It's hard to tell sometimes with some of that stuff anyway. Right, so yeah, you're going to come back in a few days' time. We'll see what offers we got for our players that we offered out, and we'll see if we're able to get any more staff in, see what offers we got. Then once we know roughly what sort of budget we're looking at once players leave, then we'll look at some players coming in and see what we're going to buy and that kind of stuff. But I don't think there's any point in focusing on the players we're going to bring in just yet until we know at least roughly what sort of budget we're going to be dealing with. It's going to be a lot more than it is right now anyway, is what it says. So see you in a few days. Hopefully get some big offers, and hopefully we can get in some good players. Okay, the first bit of news to bring to you is Venezia Football Club's Jack Series has won Italian Serie A Manager of the Year. So there you go. We have one Manager of the Year in Serie A. Pretty deserved, I would think, finishing second and getting to the cup final. But that's your first bit of news anyway. Okay, so we had an offer for Facundo. And the board have said, do you know what, Jack? We want a bit more money for him. Okay. I said, do you know what? I think we've done pretty well. I think we should just let him go because I think we can improve the team. And they've said, your recent run of results have been nothing short of terrible. At this moment in time, we simply cannot sanction any requests. What? Convince? Convince. I guess we have to accept that. Good talk, board. Okay, we have got some news for you in terms of players out. We have sold the following. Facundo has gone. Let me get out of the way here for you. Facundo has gone for £18.5 million. It wasn't the most that I wanted for him, but I felt like that for us to actually progress as a club, I felt like we had to make this deal and we had to sell him for that amount. So he's going to be gone for that amount. The other transfers that are about to happen are going to be here on the screen right now. So Phil Alman's going to be gone for £2 million, Frederick for 220 grand, Sensi for 2.6 million, then Tresoldi for 6.25 million. Altogether, it's about like 80, 90 grand a week off the wage bill as well. So that leaves us with a grand total of £17.13 million to spend, 58 grand a week in the wages. Again, with the players that are leaving, that's over 100 really for us. Right, so the reason I pulled the trigger on Tresoldi and Facundo leaving was because I felt like that we could potentially replace him with a couple of players. I only really looked at 2 or 3 positions for players to bring in while I was making this decision on Tresoldi and Facundo. So I've already looked at a couple of strikers to bring in, a few wingers and some number 10s. So let's have a look at through some of the options now. Now, don't forget, not all of these players are going to be coming day one starters, etc. Some of them are going to be backups. Like, for example, with Facundo leaving, Asan really should, in theory, become our number 10, right? That should be our number 10 going forwards in our tactic. But if there are 2 or 3 really good number 10 or central field type players to bring in, and there aren't many wingers, we could keep Asan out wide for another season if we have to. Ideally, I don't want to do that, but it's, when we're trying to progress as a club, you've got to try and get the best players in. But we do want wingers really, ideally, in that sort of Mitoma kind of mold if we can. But it is what it is. In terms of getting players in, we need to get in who we can get in. That is basically the long and short of it, really. We need to get players in that are going to improve the team. So let's see who we've got on the shortlist so far. And again, remembering, not all of these players are going to be starters. For a striker, for example, I don't need a starting level striker. I've got Samu. He's going to be the starter. We need somebody who can be an appropriate backup for him that can do the business when he is out. So Jed Montero, you can look at him and say, do you know what, Jack? He's all right. He's probably not going to be Samu's level. But Jed Montero is on a free transfer and could cost me, I don't know, maybe like £2 a week in wages, something like that. And he's not too far off of Tresoldi's attributes. So that's a really good, cost-effective signing for us. And that would allow us to free up the money in other positions. So I'm probably going to try and sign Montero regardless. It would be nice to get Montero and maybe one other striker as well to have the three, but I don't know. He looks right to me. Yeah, Ivan Azon looks really, really, really good. The problem with signing Azon would be I wouldn't know who to start out of him and Samu because they're both brilliant. So I think I'm almost tempted not to sign him because I don't know if I can have the money anyway, but like that, if I could just buy any backup player or any player to compete with Samu for a starting position, this guy would be the one. It's just going to come down to a fact of like, do I want to spend £6-7 million on a striker that might only be rotating in and out, or maybe have to play out of position? Or do we want to get somebody who's a cheaper backup and then put that money somewhere else? Because he could play in central midfield, to be fair. Like, he's got the attributes to play central midfield. He's actually quite similar to Asan in a lot of ways, isn't he? Look at his attribute spread, or a little bit anyway. But yeah, that's really, I think, going to be the one if we can make it happen. But I don't know. It depends on money, really. Then we've got George here as well, who looks like a pretty good striker. He's sort of between the two players we've just seen. 18 years old, very young, could be a good homegrown player going forwards. Wanted by just everybody, apparently. So he could be another option for the backup striker role too. And there's some other names down here too, like Mikael Karpin, you're going to recognise. Didier Lampcall looks pretty good as well. There's a few different cost-effective players that we could bring in terms of strikers. Look at a few of the wingers now that we could bring in. Oscar Andrada is going to be really expensive, so it's unlikely it's going to be him, but I did like the look of him. Like, if he joined us and got his acceleration up by 1 and pace up by 1, he's going to be an excellent winger, like top level winger. So he could be the one if it was to come out that way, but I don't think we're going to quite have the money for that. So Dan Ndoye, I really want to sign Dan Ndoye, but they want loads of money for him, and his wages has gone up pretty high. So it's unlikely. He's the player that I really want the most because he's been there, seen it, done it in Serie A. So it would be really nice to bring him in. I would love to get him in as our winger, but that's my preferred option if I can get him in, but I don't think it's going to happen because of the money. We'd have to go down the 50% route probably again for him. I don't know if we want to be doing that right now. I guess we can get away with it while we've got European football, but he looks really, really good. In terms of like a number 10, I think Reina. So if you look at Reina and Facundo, they're very, very similar in attribute spreads, right? But Reina would cost me, what, £1 million? So to sell Facundo for over 20 and bring Reina in for 1, I think that's a really good bit of business to have somebody come in who's probably going to be close to his level, maybe not quite just there, but then it's going to allow us to bring in a player on the wing or up front or at the back, anywhere you want to put the money. So I think, again, going via the aggregate, I think that's a good signing for us and a good trade-off for us in the end. So Reina's probably going to come in if I can get him. We'll see if we can make that happen. So Carl Nygaard is a new gen 16-year-old striker who plays up front for his, I guess, home team in Denmark. Looks really good. He could be a backup striker for us that can also play wide. I would like to sign him if I can. I don't know if he'll come to us just because he's only 16, but he would be a really, really good striker. Homegrown long term as well. That could be the one if we've got a bit of money to do it. Yeah, I don't know. Looks pretty good, doesn't he? Looks really good. I mean, he's only 16, so he could develop as well. He could grow in height and get himself. He could be like 6 foot and end up being like the next Hoyland type striker, right? That's what he could be. But we'll see. Again, somebody I'd like to bring in, but it depends on, like, although that would be a lovely signing that would help us out 3-4 years down the line, we need players right now still as well, so I don't know. He's not quite quick enough to go wide, so I don't know if we can really do that. His dribbling and his pace isn't really enough to be a winger, but he's only 16, like, over a couple of years, his acceleration get to 17, pace to 14, dribbling could get up to 15. He could be all of a sudden a player that can play wide. So, I don't know. We might buy him. If we bought him, we'd have to play him. And if we play him, it's probably going to cost us points in the league, and we're going to have to accept that we're not going to do quite as well in the league. So if we're okay accepting that, it's a good signing. If we're not, I don't know. We'll have to see. But Really good player, he looks like. Pedrola is a player that I really want to bring in on the wing. The only thing is, I'm not sure if he's more of like a number 10 profile of player because he's got dribbling and flair, and if he was a tiny bit quicker, he's a great winger. So I'm tempted to bring him in and try and play him on the wing and try and progress him into the type of player that we want him to be. But it might take him a year to sort of get up to that level. And while he's getting up to that level, again, talking about how that might not allow us to get the same level of results as last year. So I don't know. I think this is a good signing, though. I think he's almost definitely somebody we're going to go and try and bring in, and it'll be primarily to play as a as a winger on the left-hand side for us cutting in. Basically doing what Hassan did last year, then Hassan can go into the middle. That's what my thought process is with him. He's somebody I'm probably going to try and go for early on. Yeah, and there's some other midfield players and odd wingers around still, and players left on the shortlist from last year. A couple of players made it onto the shortlist that play in deeper positions, but they've gone there because they looked really good while I was looking for other positions, like Thiago Santos. I was looking for wingers, and he actually hit a lot of the areas I was looking for a winger, but really naturally is a fullback, of course. Right, okay, that's pretty much all the wingers, number 10s, and strikers that I've looked at. Let's have a look at some pivot players now. Let's have a look at some of those. I don't know if we're going to need them, really. We've got Højlund and Handel. Muslija's going to play pivot as well. I think we should search for a couple anyway, but I think winger is the more pressing issue because obviously we're going to lose Borges. Again, I will try to loan a couple of players if I can late on in the window like we did last year. We're sort of praying that's going to help us out again this year. But then hopefully next year going onwards with that Champions League money for the second year in a row, hopefully we don't have to do this ever again. But it's the way that the situation currently is. We of course have Mengoli from our youth academy still for next year too. Hopefully he can improve a little bit and provide us a bit more than he did. But let's look for a pivot player. See if we can get somebody else that can come in and do a job that's going to be really cost effective. That could maybe replace Muslija as the starting player. Maybe. Although I'm not really that bothered about replacing him because he played so well. But yeah, let's see what else we can do with the remaining positions. Yeah, talking about a pivot player that could potentially play as a 10 or play as that deeper sort of Pascal Gross midfield role. Benz Dardai. I don't know what it is about us and signing German league players and German players specifically, but again, he looks the best value for money. He's only 19. He's worth 4.5 to 5.8 million pounds. He looks absolutely incredible. He looks as good as a prospect as Hassan does. So he is 100% going to be coming in. And it just looks like we're going to have a really good core to our team in central midfield, but not too sure about everywhere else. But I've got to sign him because he is just value for money, and he's going to be coming in. Yeah, in terms of fullbacks, having Bryce come in would be really, really good. Not only is he lightning fast, but he's also pretty good in the air, and he's strong as well, which would be really, really good for our profile of play in that sort of right-back position. We don't need somebody to be this fast to play the right-back position, but the other players I've looked at have been similarly good in some areas, and then nowhere near as fast. It's like he looks like a really good bit of business value for money. So we'll see if we can bring him in. I've been through quite a few left backs, and I still think Leonardo Buta, who I looked at last year, looks the best value for money again. Wages are quite high. So I don't know. If I was to bring him in, I probably would sell Puzchaz and sign then a second left back to be a backup as well. So like 2 for the price of 1 sort of thing. Just because his wages are so high and I'd probably need a bit of extra money and stuff. So he looks really good though. Really good bit of business if we can bring him in already in Italy, of course. In terms of centre-backs, Ilario Monterisi, I think he's going to be the one we go for because he can play centre-back or he could play as the right-back for us quite easily. He's got a bit of dribbling, got a bit of crossing. He's probably the perfect like Veltman type player we were sort of looking for, and he's Italian, he's going to be homegrown, so he is going to be the one that we go for in defence if we can make it happen. I say they're going to be the ones that we go for, but that doesn't mean we're going to get every single one of those players. I guess what that means is that they're the ideal ones, and then there's going to be a hierarchy of positional need, and I would say that wingers or a 10 is the most important thing, because if we get a 10, Hassan can stay wide if needed, but a wingers, a 10, a backup striker are the most important things. Then maybe looking at pivot players and then defenders. Goalkeeper isn't needed at all. So we're working basically front to back this season. But he's going to be definitely up there with players I want to sign. So I want to try and get as many homegrown players as we can, especially Italian players and especially Italian defenders if we can. So he's going to be quite high on my list regardless of the positional need, to be honest. All right, that's pretty much it. Again, you can see some of the names down here. One other player to look out for is Emmanuel Ayew. He is at a club, Cremonese, who've just been relegated, so he's available for very, very cheap. Wages are very high, though, so yeah, not the most ideal of scenarios there. But lots of good players to look at in the defence, and then looking at some pivot players too in here, which all look good. So I'm going to go away now, try and get some offers out on players and see who we can get. I'm really going to try and stretch this transfer budget as far as I can this season, because I feel like that if we can make the jump again this season and get a good team to improve, going forwards into future years, the Champions League money is going to really help us out anyway. But this year, I think that we do need to keep doing massive installments, little up front, maybe some percentage of the next sale again. I think we do need to do a bit of that, looking at how low our transfer budget is. And the level of players that we need to make our team better is quite expensive for us. So we're going to look at a bit of that. If we fall a player or two short, we will basically do what we did last year, try and save a bit of wages, and then try and get 2 loan players at the end of the window. So that's the plan. I'm not too sure when you're going to join me back here, because there might be a news item, not sure, new fixtures, I don't know. But you'll see me in a few weeks anyway, and let's go through and see what players we could get. But yeah, the ones that I said were like the one are going to be the players that we try and go for first. And yeah, we'll see what happens. But I do think that I'm going to try and get him as well. Because I think that getting a wonder kid would be quite good as well early on. But yeah, anyway, I will see you in a few weeks' time, and hopefully we find ourselves our first new signings. Okay, welcome back, everybody. So you have missed the following, and we've managed to bring in no more players who have gone out incidentally, just the players that have left with the players that you've already seen. Players in are as follows. Jair Montero, the 18-year-old striker, comes in on a free transfer. But this could be quite a steal, to be honest with you. He looks pretty good for an 18-year-old. If he was like 20 and you think maybe he doesn't improve too much, it could still be a good cost-effective signing, maybe not anything too special. But he's only 18 years old, so he could be a really good player, I think. So comes in on a free transfer and only on £3,900 a week. Bent Dardai comes in. The German midfield player comes in for £6 million. Him and Asan are going to be absolutely incredible this season. Barring injuries, of course, they are both going to be absolutely brilliant. I don't know whether Asan's going to play wide and Bent's going to play as a 10, or Asan plays as a 10 and Bent's plays deep in the sort of Muslija, Pascal Gross kind of role for us. So I think he's going to probably do that more likely, because of the wingers we're able to bring in. But really, really good player, good value for money signing. Really happy with that. Then we signed Edward Chilufya. He's going to be... Then we signed Chilufya here. He's going to be our winger, our first choice right-sided player. He comes in for, was it £6 million also, to replace Borges effectively, having a permanent player with good acceleration, good pace, good agility, good enough dribbling. Should be a starting level winger for us for at least 1 year, maybe 2. And yeah, we'll see how he gets on. Pretty good player. We needed somebody in this sort of mould of player, didn't we, really? And there you go, comes in for £6 million. Next is Rainier. Rainier comes in for £800,000. That's all he was going to cost us. Obviously, was signed by Real Madrid for £26.5 million a few years ago. 800 grand he comes in for. One of our 2 non-EU players for the season, the other one being the player we just showed you. Really good number 10. Looks like a really good replacement for Facundo. The difference is that he's probably not going to start. So although he replaces Facundo in terms of profile of player, we're going to probably play Asan as the 10, have the wingers wide, then use Dardai as the other pivot player. So really, Rainier is to come off the bench, play if there's injuries, more of a utility squad player than an actual starter. But you know, if Facundo was going to do the same thing, if we were going to use Facundo in the same role, and if we don't get too many injuries, it's definitely worth selling Facundo for £20 million, replacing him with somebody for 800 grand, and getting that money invested into those other positions. Because selling Facundo, we were able to really bring in Rainier, bring in Dardai, maybe even bring in 1 or 2 others as well. So that was really good. Bryce Wembangomo comes in at wingback. He looks really good. Again, potential utility player, potential starter. Not too sure what he's going to be just yet. Only cost us £1 million with some kick on, so he looks like he could be a really good player. And then last, but definitely not least, Ilario Monterisi. Monterisi is going to be a brilliant player for us. He's like an upgrade on Papetti, I would say. So he could replace Papetti as the centre-back on the left side, or whichever side it is, really, and be a starting level centre-back for us and could be our centre-back for the year. Or alternatively, he could play right-back for us and be that sort of Veltman-type player. That's the profile of player I'm sort of looking at there. The important thing as well is he's Italian, he's homegrown. That gives us another homegrown player, which is nice to see, and puts us in a really good position. So on July 2nd, we've still got money to spend. I'm going to try and bring in at least 1 or 2 players. I think we're going to bring in this guy here, Ola. Ola's going to come in hopefully for us and be our winger, and that will give us then Ola, we'll have Pierini, they'll have Chilufya as well. We're going to have a few players there. Varela is still in the squad. I've offered him back out. We might be able to sell him for another £1 million or so. And Jerome Ongwani is going to be sold, because if you look at our defence now, if you look at these players here, that's our current squad. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a little light in numbers, but I feel like that we can get a backup player in that can be a utility player for a much lesser wage, and we can also get that money in from Ongwani all up front. So I feel like that's going to be what we're going to go with. That's going to be the 6 main defenders for the year, is going to be these guys here. 3 centre-backs, really, and then 3 full-backs is the way it's going to work. But, yeah, I'm really happy with the squad, the way that it looks right now. It's small, but it's good. It's really, really good. A couple players on trial. I could potentially bring in Andrea just as like a utility player for the year. If there's an emergency, cup game here, league game there, that sort of thing, right? Homegrown as well. He could potentially come in. We may sign this guy as well. It depends, really. We'll see. It depends if we run out of wingers to sign, but he could also join the club as well. But that's pretty much it, and that is your transfer update as of right now. Our season starts at Juventus away. Not an easy start. Then Sassuolo, Torino, Fiorentina, and Spezia there. And that is going to be the start. So we'll definitely do the Juventus game, first game of the season, in today's episodes, in a little bit later on here. So for now, what I'm going to do is go away. I'm going to sell on Gwenny. I might sell Varela as well. And we're definitely going to bring in one player. We'll definitely try and bring in a winger. We might bring in 1 or 2 more on top of that. I'm considering another striker, potentially. And then somebody else in the back line. And that's probably it. That's going to be the season. That's going to be the team done. I may look at some players on a free. I didn't look at goalkeepers. I think Ernst is a good player, but that's pretty much your update. And you're up to date with what my thinking is and we're at. So I will see you in a few weeks' time after the pre-season for the first game of the season against Juventus, and we'll go through any further transfers that we did. We'll go back through, of course, before that point. I don't think we're going to sell anybody else other than Ongweni and Varela. It's going to be those two. It's definitely going to be one player. It could be 2. The stretch goal would be 3. But we'll see how it all goes. But that's it. That's your update on the transfers. And I'll see you all in a few weeks for the game against Juventus. And welcome back, everybody. It is the new season, our first season as a European team in the Serie A. And you missed the following transfers. We first of all brought in Ola, comes in for £4 million. Really good player, good winger to play on that left-hand side, cutting on his right foot most likely. And then the second one was Ivan Azon. Yes, he ended up being available. I decided to cash in on him. £5.75 million all up front. That was his release clause as Zaragoza got relegated. So I made Ivan learn to play as number 10. And I've also then asked Jer Montero to learn to play on the left-hand side as a winger. So I've got 2 of my 3 strikers both learning to play other positions because they're not going to or get game time if they're all fit to play. Samu's the only player I wouldn't really want anywhere else because he just fits playing as a striker, doesn't he, really? So, although, if they're both fit, they're not both fit off the bat here, but if Ivan and Samu are both fit, I mean, Ivan's probably a better striker, isn't he? To start, he probably is, So I didn't want there to be like another striker competition, but I mean, Ivan for £5.75 million, how could you turn that down? Like, he's just brilliant, isn't he? So, good player. We'll see how he gets on when he's fit to play. And this is going to be your squad, pretty much. We might be able to get 1 or 2 players in on a free, or if somebody's transfer listed and the valuation is, and asking price is quite low. And again, a couple of loan players right at the end of the transfer window maybe as well. That could be the other thing that we do. But this is going to be your squad. It's going to be a pretty small squad. Only 6 defenders, so as long as we have only 2 defenders out, we're okay. Once we have 3 defenders that we're in trouble, and if we've got 2 defenders out and somebody gets injured or suspended during the game, again, a bit of an issue for us as well. So it's a bit light in defense. I think we're pretty good everywhere else. It's not quite 2 first-team players for each position, but it's pretty close, though. We've got a good squad. Yeah, I tried to bring this guy in as a set-piece coach. He said no, said he wasn't interested at all in being a set-piece coach. I was like, okay. So I said, okay, how about you come in as a coach and then, just work on set pieces? And he said, yeah, that's great. I was like, okay, fine. So we got there in the end. He's a coach, but he's really a set-piece coach with set pieces of 20, of course. Right now, I'm going to keep him doing the same routines that I've given him, but he's going to control the takers. If we aren't scoring any from set pieces and we are still conceding some, I'm just going to get him to take over and see what he does with them. My only concern is he goes for far post corners, so I'm not sure about that, but we can see what happens. Who knows? Maybe it's really good. So I think we just get straight into the season, don't we? That's all that's left really to do. I think next season, what we'll do is we'll go through some of the players that we sold this season and see how they've got on. So we'll be looking at players that have played for us that have made an impact. Start going through some of the players that we've let go as well and see how they've got on, that kind of stuff. And keep tabs on the players that are slightly older, see who retires, and try and get as many of our former players in as coaching staff as possible as the series goes on. It'd be nice to have like almost completely ex Venezia players as staff members. That'd be lovely to see going forwards. Right, or ex-Brighton staff, whichever the case may be. Here we go. Roberto De Zerbi update. He is manager of Fulham, incidentally. So, yeah, they appointed him after their relegation last season. So, he's going to take over for Fulham. Yeah, so De Zerbi is going to take over Fulham in their quest to get promoted back to the Premier League. So, good luck to Roberto De Zerbi. We'll try and keep tabs on him and see how he's getting on with Fulham over the course of the season. Okay, then, your first team of the season with us as Venezia. Football Awards as a European team in the Serie A is going to be Ernst in goal. Pujals left back with Monterisi, Clemens and Bryce across the back line. Handel and Dade as the pivots with Asan as the 10. Chalufi on the right-hand side. Ola on the left-hand side. And then Samu up front. Assistant manager says, the pressure is all on them. Okay, so let's see what formation they're actually going to play against us. It's going to be the big 3-4-3. Okay, so 3-4-3. So our fullbacks are going to take care of their wingers. 2 centre-backs versus the striker. That's all good. Our wingers will take care of their wing-backs, which is a bit different to the other 3 at the back tactics that happen against us. Then you've got 2 players in the middle versus our 3 currently. So do we go with 1 player on the back line and let him just run around and press, which we could do? Or do we try and go 2 versus 2 in the middle and then 2v3 versus at the top? I think what we'll do is we'll go with our strike on their back 3 and then go 3 versus 2 in the middle. So they'll have their 2 pivots, then we'll pick up their pivots with our 2 midfield players here. Then we'll keep Handel spare so that he can go and step up onto midfield player if needed, but he can also be a protector for the back 2. So maybe we keep them offset like this. Hopefully Dade will go and step on to the actual pivot player decently well. I feel like he may not do that as well here. Maybe we do have to do a bit of that, maybe? I want to keep us building with the 2 pivots, though, purely because of how I'd like to engage the amount of possession. We're going to move these 2 up into this, into the midfield strata, the MC strata here. So we're going to go with that. I think we'll go, you on a DM, you on a DM. Handles effectively spare. And we'll go with a bit of that. And then we'll go with a bit of that and see how that goes. But that's going to be a team. First game of the season versus Juventus. Come on, Venezia. Big game, 3-4-3 with our new players. Let's see how we get on against them. So the idea is that it's 1 versus 3 in their favour here. That's their overload. But then we've got 3v2 in the middle. We've got a +1 with our defensive line against their front line. And we've got a +1 in the middle. Then it's man for man on the wings everywhere. Then they've got their spare player at centre-back, or 2 spare players. So I feel like that we should match up pretty well against them. Especially if we score first. I think we should go on to win the game. But if we concede first, it could be a problem too. So let's see how we go. Maybe can we try and see how this looks now? We're going to win the ball here, actually, I think. Just looking at the numbers-wise here, what we got. So we've got... so Dade has tracked the midfield player here pretty well, which is good to see. That is good to see. So now we're going to get the ball and play out against them. So we can play against their 3. So they're quite a narrow 3 there, I guess, in terms of FM. I mean, in real life, you're saying, in here, get us out, please. Get us out, please. Oh, see, you just got to play it. Just got to play the pass, lads. What are we doing? Are we giving it away there? See, I don't know if I like that. I don't know why that's happened. Like, he's got it. I mean, do we need to play that? I don't think we do need to play that. Like, immediately that far. Can we travel with it? I don't know. There's other things that could have happened there. We've given it away anyway. They go on our centre-back. Keane goes through. We get across pretty well against him, though. Goes across the goal. We should get rid of this. We do. And we're away. Right, they've got a goal kick here. Let's see how we get on then against their tactic and their formation playing out from the back. So the wingers for us should not attract... They should not go onto the back line. It should only be the striker, really. So what we should see here is man for man, spare player. That's what we should be seeing. We do see a bit of that. Chiesa gets on it pretty easily, though. Not sure I was quite happy with how they got out and played that so easily, though. So what was this again? So they go to the left centre-back, and he just has plenty of time to pick out this pass straight into here. So I don't like that. Right, I don't like that. So Samu's going to come across, so you can play like a front 2 lads a little bit. We could make them a front 2, essentially, right? So this is where having both Samu and the other striker that we signed, Ivan, having them both fit, we could play them as a 2. Because what you might get here now is when the ball goes right to left, and it goes to like the right centre back for them, left side for us. Sam might step up onto the centre back, and then Handel might go with him. We might see a bit of that. Okay, apologies, I just missed this. I think we've just conceded a goal here. So let's just see how it happened again. Let's write down a little bit on the replay. So Ernst is playing up from the back here, plays it to Clemens. Apparently Clemens makes a mistake. So let's watch this together. Clemens gets it, plays it straight to Dade, who was marked really. They go straight on the counter and they score from that. So they score from us playing up from the back, which isn't great because that's what we like to do to other teams. They've got their front 3 and our 2 players in here. And we're struggling to then get it from these two outwards. So, do you want to see this again? Clemens plays it. I mean, not sure why we're doing that really, Clemens. I reckon the right back needs to either be higher or deeper. And it doesn't seem to matter too much which. I reckon what we do here is we do what they did in real life. So the right winger really is going to go central. So we're going to go with, I think, we're going to maybe CM support, something that doesn't rotate in here. Let's get the width down, all the way down. Let's get Edward to then go sit narrower in there. And you can go and occupy that high and wide space as high as possible. And we'll try that and see if that makes things any better in there. There's no more rotation, so I guess I move him to the middle. Yeah, let's try this and see how this goes. Okay, Venezia roll out from the back. Let's see what the striker does here and how the players react. So have we got man for man in here? We have goods. They get through to their wing, and that's okay. We've got this matchup pretty good. Oh, lads, how do we let them get there? What's the left back even doing? Keane's just gone past the player again. I'm getting a bit annoyed about that, right? Can we just, like, let's not go tight on him. Let's not press him. Let's just do nothing to him because he just keeps dancing around players. And that's a great tackle. Set piece for Juventus. They go short. I think the set piece coach is going to be taking over duties. Do you know what? Do it right now, mid-game. Why not? Guess what happens here? I tried to skip through this highlight to get to the next one after our changes. And a goal goes in. So it's another goal that we've sort of missed. And they're going to get themselves a goal here. Chiesa turns, plays it back out here, gets it back inside in a second. And there you go. It's 2-0 to Juventus, and they don't deserve it, but it's 2. Drives and plays. I mean, it's that there where we're sort of like taking touches, then trying to fire a pass into the winger. Maybe we need the striker to drop and get on it. I mean, it's not going to matter if they go 3-0 up, but so we're getting to like here. Okay, we'll eventually get us to a pivot player, I assume, and then it will go nowhere. The right back was sort of now we've got left hand side is open. The left number 10, goods. The left winger goes inside. He's got Samu. Samu's got runners with him. Uses Dade, plays across to Hassan, who goes through and plays it across goal, and it's going to go wide. Going to say, get your act together to the lads. Yeah, I'm not happy with this. Hasn't got one at all. I mean, their goals have come from us playing out on a set piece. Like, it's normally what we do to other teams, right? But it's happened to us. We're going to see what we can do. Oh, what are we... Who's the right striker there? I mean, honestly, we'll have to do another game together in a second. We'll have to do a second game because this game has just done my head in. I'll see you at the end of the game. We've just been done. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Finishes 3-0 to Juventus. I'm going to say proud of the boys, but I'm really not. That was probably the worst kind of game that could have happened. Nothing that we did was working. But to be honest, we never got a chance because we conceded from us playing out and then a set piece. But I'm really disappointed with that. We're not going to dwell on that game, though. We're going to go straight into the next game against Sassuolo and see how we get on in that one because that was dreadful. Not happy with that. Terrible, boys. Hang your heads in shame. See you in a second. Okay, then. Second game against Sassuolo. Let's see what formation they're going to play against us. Where are they? They're here. 4-2-3-1. Okay, so like a 4-3-3 type shape that's going to require from us in some form to try and match up the midfielders. Some manager says, show the board you got what it takes. Okay, so that will be a case of, I think, doing this for this game and keeping everything else pretty much exactly the same and seeing how we go. Your team is going to be Ernst in goal with Pujas at left back with Papetti, Clemens and Monterisi across the back. Handel and Dade going to be 2 pivots with the San as the 10. Ola left, Chilufia on the right and then Samu up front. Yeah, not happy with that one at all, really. This one's a bit more simple in terms of the shape and how we're going to stop them playing. We can look at our in-possession shape in this game quite easily. Like, we could play an inverted fullback. We could go to inverted wing-back. We could do a lot of different things here depending on how they press us. Right, so let's look at this. So they've gone with a very narrow 4, as you can see here. So they've left our fullbacks open when we're building. Got a central player quite free. They can let us come with it. So, okay, Pujas gets this. Drives their line play straight through into Hassan. I feel like we should be okay against this, looking at this early on, because of what just happened there. And again, right CM now. Right CM if you want him. No? Okay. Well, so the right back's getting a bit caught, like how to get on the ball. A little bit like the last game, really. Like, is he really on here? He is now. There it is. Okay, good. Right. We might be okay. I think generally we're going to be okay against this playing out, but we'll see. Look, we're getting some good joy here, and we go out there. Okay, potential chance from the wide area. Dade gets it, crosses it across to Ola. Ola's going to bring it down. He's going to play across to Handel. Handel's got time and space, goes through, he's got to shoot, and he does, and he gets it just wide of the target, and it stays at 0-0. Okay, Dade's got it, plays it across the right back, goes across to Samu. Samu plays it across. Hassan shoots, Hassan scores. 1-0 to Venezia, our first game. Our first goal as a European football club, and that is 1-0. Yeah, our first goal as a club in Europe. Absolutely loving that, or at least in European football. And Hassan goes through and scores and makes it 1-0. Well done, lads. Good start. We'll say keep it going, lads. Go up and find another gear if you can. Going to take Ola off and put on Pirini on the left-hand side. Handel's going to come up. We're going to throw on Hoyland, I think, as a pivot as well. They've had 0.07 XG. Like, they've had 3 shots. 2 of those have been free kicks from miles out, by the way. So, there you go. Puzjaz's going to come off. Costinha's currently learning to play left back. He can go out there and play a little bit as well. That leaves us 1 stoppage left. Going to be a highlight from that. Costinha throws it into Pirini. Plays it back to Costinha. Costinha to the centre-back for Pepetti. Bit of time and space. Has got the right centre-back we want to. Now we've got a nice overload on the right-hand side. Nice. Monterisi goes wide. He's going to dribble with it, travel with it. Plays it to Chilifia. And then Monterisi gets it back. Sorry for the pronunciation change of some of these players. I'm just sort of saying it as I see it as it comes up. Sometimes it changes. Pepetti, right inside now. Nope. Hoyland. Good. Asan goes through, rolls the defender, goes wide, cuts it back. Samu scores. 2-0. Really, really good goal. Good De Zerbi football. That should probably be game over against his old team, of course, which is always a shame, but 2-0. Yeah, really good this. Asan did the little roll thing on the defender like Moise Keane kept doing to us in the bloody last game. Rolls the defender here, goes sprint sort of past him, plays it across goal. Nice finish. That is going to be 2. Dale gets on it. Nice Pascal Gross play from him there. Look at that. So, although it's a 4-3-3 in the tactics creator, like, look at that. That shape could be a 4-4-2. Could be a 4-2-3 with a 10 offset to one side. That could be many different things, but like, although in the tactics creator it says, 4-3-3, that is just how we're matching them up out of possession. In possession, still playing exactly the same. We've still got a pivot and then a second pivot next to him dropping in to get the ball. It's just that now he's going to go slightly earlier, higher. Now it transitions more into like a 4-3-3 shape. But again, it still could be 4-4-2 with the striker dropping off the front line. Samu goes to, I think he's just offside, but he went wide anyway. He was onside, but he went wide. Going to make a couple of changes. Reyna's going to come on for Asan, who's been brilliant. Then Montero's going to come on the wing, I think. We'll put him on the right-hand side and then switch him with Pirini so we can do a bit of that. They're going to try and counter us after a corner here. Papato's going to counter. They're going to keep going and driving down the left-hand side. We're going to get to this. Yes, Pirini, good lad. Love that. Good work rate from him. Good build to the left. Good. Can we try and pull out a bit wider, please, winger? Maybe now. Good. Pull wider. Okay, now he's gone inside for a little run. That's okay. Costinha's wide. That's fine. Costinha goes inside. Drives inside. Goes wide. Plays it across goal. Surely. I think he's gone for goal there. Come on, Costinha. You got to play the team game. That's got to be rolled across the goal. This has been a good game, though, for us. It's been a good bounce-back game. I think after the Juventus game, some people would have been going, oh, dear. How bad could this get this year? This is a good, settle-down game. Use the Juventus game as an additional preseason game to get a bit of fitness into the lads, a bit of sharpness, and then we bounced back with a really good, comfortable 2-0 win. They got all their chances at the end of the game when it was already 2-0 and already game over, to be honest with you. So that is going to do us. That was really fun. That was a good episode. We managed to get a really good squad together, I felt. Like I said, that although we finished second, don't expect us just to go and finish second, eventually win the league again and go like another step, because now we're going to have to go again this season. We won a lot of marginal games last year from our in-game adjustments, doing all the pressing, matching their pressing shapes, all that kind of stuff, right? All of that stuff made us win a lot of close games that may not always go our way when we're still that little bit off of the other top teams in the league on paper. So there's always going to be a bit of that. Also now, of course, European football is going to play a huge part in this as well. But the squad's pretty good. It's hard to know what we're really going to be fighting for until we get a few more games in, which we'll go into next episode and see how we do off camera. How we do off camera is going to be something really, really interesting to focus on at the start of the next episode before we even do anything, because it's going to be a bit of this. One thing I'm going to toy with, I mentioned this last episode, in the matches where we look to drop the striker onto a pivot player, can we do it without actually making him like a shadow striker, keeping him as a striker position, maybe going to a mid-block? Do we use a bit of the pressing trap and try and change that to drawing them inside and outside and maybe showing the differences between the two with the same tactic, that kind of stuff? But that is the kind of stuff we're going to go into in the next episode. So hopefully that will be something of interest to everybody. Also, of course, in the next episode, we will play our very first European game with Venezia. That is going to be in the next episode. That is what it's going to be. So looking ahead to the next one, I don't know who it's going to be in terms of the league match. It will be a couple of league matches plus our first ever European game. And which order they go in would just really be dependent on where they put this in the schedule and which games I think will be good to go along with it. We can catch up off of camera and see how we got on. In terms of players in, I might try and get a couple of loans later on. I'm just going to see who's available. I'm not planning on making too many signings. We won the routine game. We won the routine game that I thought we should win because one, it's at home, and then two, there wasn't too much of a tactical change. It was matching up their formation to theirs a little. Really, we're playing in our own way, and it looked really, really good. I was really happy. That's like a kind of routine game for us, that, right? We matched up their shape a little bit, but we played the exact same way in our own shape, in possession, and did a really good job. But the away game against Juventus was disappointing. They did also go and beat AC Milan, though, the current reigning champions. So maybe they're going to be good this year. It could be the fact that Juventus have had a good start. Morale's high. Players looking good. Manager's got the players rolling. They've got players on 235 grand a week. What's our most expensive contract? 37.5. So quite a big gap between the wages on the players. But anyway, that is going to do it. Thank you all for the support on the videos recently. I hope you enjoyed the series, and I'll see you all, of course, next time.